Stay tuned.
Like, share, and subscribe to the Ring Ropes and Turnbuckle podcast and Bars Wrestling Media. Don't forget to follow Bars Wrestling Media on TikTok, along with Jay Styles and Darkwing Dub.
And now, here are your hosts for the Ring Ropes and Turnbuckle podcast, the insightful Escott Bars Wrestling Media, the dynamic Darkwing Dub, and the man with the facts, the historian, Jay Styles.
Yeah, we back. Round of applause. We back with another one. Ring Ropes Turnbuckle Podcast. Hey, man. What's going on, fellas? Like, y'all see the topic. So, what y'all think of this? Bully Ray versus Zilla Fatu. So, we know that they had some sort of, back and forth. Bully Ray spit his disbeliefs on Busted Open Radio about Zilla, and Zilla in return responded. They had a little Twitter spat. So I know, Jay Styles, you've been keeping up with this. So give us the 411 on what actually has been going on.
So, as you just mentioned, it started off on Busted Open Radio. What really transpired from it was months of talk about him from Mark Henry, Tommy Dreamer, and occasionally Natalia, who had been over to Houston already, wrestling for Booker T's promotion, Reality Wrestling. And Bully Ray wasn't really, he felt it was all hype for Zilla. Wondering when is he going to show up in WWE programming? The kid has all this potential. He has all this character believability aspect to him as a performer. And then being Umanga's son, carrying on the legacy, it's time for him to put up a shut up to Bully Ray's word. Zilla heard that and said, okay, I'm going to come on the show. We're going to talk about this. And basically, Zilla told him, look, I'm tired of you talking down on me as if I'm not ready to step up. It's not in my control. But then Bully corrected him and said, well, you just finished your probation. He's putting this man's business out there and Busted Open Radio, first and foremost. You put it for everybody out there to see that you paid off your probationary debt. You served your 5 years and everything in state penitentiary. So when are you going to make this jump? He said it takes time. Bully Ray wasn't trying to hear. It was back and forth. So they were building up to this. So finally, they had a confrontation yesterday that we didn't see backstage and on Monday Night Raw, where they talked about putting the match together for next Friday in New York at the House of Glory high intensity match super card, if you will. The annual event is going to be on Triller TV. So, people can watch it on Triller if they're not in New York. I feel personally this match is going to help elevate Zilla Fatu more in terms of wrestling fans in the WWE Universe spectrum who are not aware that he is Umanga's son. He is legitimately a member of the bloodline, and he is legitimately a badass, so to speak. Outside of his other cousin, Jacob. This match will catapult his credibility and putting people on notice in the WWE fan base, as far as WWE Universe. And then you'll start to hear the chant leading up, saying we want Zilla.
Yeah.
So once that happens, they're gonna have to go ahead and bring him on board.
Yeah, and not for nothing, Zilla did appear on TNA programming, which is WWE programming. He did appear with his fourth rope promotion people at the pre-show of Slammiversary, which he had a pretty good showing. I wish the match was longer. I really wish the match was longer so he could really showcase what he could do. The match was like very, very short. Like it had to be at least the match. I don't know. It just seemed like it was like 5 minutes, maybe 5 minutes.
It was 12 and a half minutes. It was,
Yeah,
if you include them up on the rampway coming down to the ring, and announcing them as they were coming down, and then once the bell rang, it was a total of 12 and a half minutes.
well, 12 and a half, but I definitely was dope to have him on TNA programming, the same programming that once upon a time had his uncle, which is Rakishi, on that same program, along with other relatives of his bloodline that's been in TNA once before. So yeah, I mean, basically this was a work. It was a situation, a real life situation turned into a work that built up to a match. You know, that's basically what it is. For him to put out his real life situation, all for them to just have a match down the line, it's a work, but it's a good work because how many people with the least experience as Zilla that's going to get an opportunity to wrestle a Hall of Famer who is still really active in the ring? Like, how many people that's going to do that? So he's basically getting the rub. That's all it is, really. He's getting the rub, but it's a good one because like this is definitely going to catapult him to the next level as far as him going to WWE. What's your thoughts, Dub?
I don't care.
What? Why don't you care?
Not because of Zilla. It's because of Bully Ray. Like, okay, you're still active in the ring. I got it, but there ain't nobody else out there who can give him that rub. I mean, Triple H is letting some of these people wrestle in other smaller promotions like a Natty. So you couldn't send, like, I don't know, maybe AJ Styles down there to give him a rub. It would have been perfect for the TNA show. Have Zilla get his one-on-one rub with somebody like an AJ Styles. I'm not saying with AJ Styles, but somebody of that nature. You know what I mean? Like, how many one-offs are we going to keep having with Bully Ray? We're getting one in TNA with the Hardys and the Dudley Boys. You know what I mean? And, he done had the Dudley Boys didn't had their one-offs in WWE as a tag team, and how many one-offs are we gonna get? Like, just like with the Undertaker tonight at NXT, just let it go, bro. Just let it go. Do your thing at LFG. Be a coach. Let it go. There's somebody more credible that will give Zilla more credit than a Bully Ray would right now, because a lot of people, yeah, we know who Bully Ray is because we grew up, watching, Bully Ray or Bubba Ray, whatever you want to call him. We grew up seeing that. Jay Styles, you're like 30 years older than us, so it don't matter. But but me and Bars, we grew up watching that. We saw him in ECW. We saw when the Dudley Boys went over to WWE. We saw when Bully and Devon went over to TNA, and then Bubba turned into Bully and did the Aces and Eights, and we saw all that stuff. You know what I mean? There has got to be somebody that's right now can go down to Hog, GCW, Booker T's promotion, and give him the rub better than a Bully Ray could. That's my opinion.
Nah, not for nothing, man. You bring some valid points. I think it's more to the fact that when it comes to, like, every time there's a new guy that comes up that has potential, it's always the legends or the Hall of Famers or the people of the past that always give them the rub. we never really see the future legends or the like active guys that we're all watching right now that will give the rub. I mean, some do it. Like we seen AJ Styles. Speaking of AJ Styles, we seen AJ Styles give Leon Slater the rub, but a lot of people don't know AJ Styles was supposed to go up against or supposed to have a segment with Frankie Kazarian, and WWE threw that out the window. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I just feel like, you know, they feel they want to do it with people that are like not as active as the guys that we think that should be able to give the rub. That's what I think they're looking at. Not to give them any, you know, not to give you pushback that much, but I'm just saying that's how they looking at it. How we looking at it, they're not really worried about that, you know. And considering the fact that I feel like they feel it'll be more meaningful if somebody of the past puts him over than somebody of the now puts him over. I think that's how they feel. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing with what I know. I've seen some highlights of NXT and Trick Williams got chokeslammed by the Undertaker. They all say like if you get chokeslammed by the Taker, then you basically made it. You know what I'm saying? We seen Braun Breaker get chokeslammed by the Taker. You see where he's at right now. He's in the main event slot. So I feel like that's what they're kind of doing. They're just like they're letting the old guard come in. They're going to put him over, do this match, put him over. He's probably going to have maybe another match or two that's with somebody else from the past that's going to put him over, and then he's going to, you know, put him more into the limelight, you know. I think that's what they're doing. You know, I could be wrong, but I feel like that's
No,
what
you're
they're
not.
doing.
Actually, you can actually go back on YouTube and then Busted Open Radio when they kept bringing Zilla up. As far as who should be the one to introduce them to the mainstream side outside the indies into WWE program.
Mm-hmm.
And the consensus was Seth Rollins before the knee injury. And it would have made perfect sense based on this whole angle he's at with his faction. And then you bring in Roman and Jay back into the mix of it. It would have made perfect sense for him to go down there or up to New York, which is technically still WWE territory, even though we're not in territorial wrestling anymore.
Right.
I mean, you know, it would have made perfect sense if, you know, to do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Now you mentioned other current AJ Styles, you know, as another one. Yes and no. If AJ has some personal vendetta against the bloodline, then it makes perfect sense. The only other superstar in the active roster that could help put Zilla over and catapult him into being ready for WWE programming would have been Drew McIntyre. Some people would say argue CM Punk, but the answer will be Drew McIntyre if it's not Seth Rollins.
I think a Drew McIntyre match will be a little bit too much for Zilla, because Drew's a beast. Like I don't see Drew. Like, I'm not saying he can't do it just off the love, but I don't see Drew putting over a Zilla Fatu. Drew's too active. Drew's a beast. And I'm not saying Bully Ray isn't, but Bully Ray's more on his way out. And Drew McIntyre still probably has like a good 5-6 more years in him. You know what I'm saying? So if they was to do that, there will have to be a huge incentive for Drew McIntyre to put over Zilla Fatu, because
Of course, I agree.
yeah, like they will have to be a huge incentive, because Drew McIntyre, he's world championship material. You know what I'm saying? And Bully Ray, he had his time in the sun. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's more of like, yeah, we gonna get guys that are not as active, that are part timers. They still can go, but we gonna use these guys to make him a big deal. We gonna use these guys to put him over. Which to me makes sense, because if they take a AJ Styles, or if they take a Drew McIntyre, or let's even go even further and say they just take somebody that has some sort of connection with them, it's going to look, people are going to be like, huh? You know what I mean? Because they don't really know who Zilla is just yet, especially the WWE Universe. WWE Universe, you know how critical they are. They will be going haywire if they was to put an AJ or Drew in the same ring with a Zilla. They're gonna be like, who is this guy? You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't know him. So at the end of the day, I feel like, yeah, I feel they should have probably got somebody younger, but or somebody that's more suitable. But at the same time, I feel like, yeah, it's more of a protective type of situation for him, because Bully's going to put him over. But he's going to work him in the match, but he's going to put him over. You know what I mean? So.
I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily, I don't know, not younger per se, but I would agree that Drew McIntyre wouldn't be that person. Somebody like a Randy Orton, when in a year or two, when he's on his way out, Randy Orton would be, somebody like a Randy Orton would be a perfect person to put him over in like a hog wrestling something, if he agrees to it, of course, because Randy Orton is one of the greatest of all time, so he's actually got to agree to that. But I mean, we've seen him put over guys like Riddle. Like, yeah, we kind of knew who Riddle was because of NXT, but it was Randy Orton and AJ Styles who got him over on the main roster. So
good point.
So I'm just like, somebody like that, somebody that people might actually care a little bit more about than a Bully Ray. Yeah, people care about him now because he's on radio and he's on LFG. Not because he's on RTV's wrestling every now and again. You know what I mean? I was thinking of somebody more like that. Somebody that's on there every now and again, but he's close to being on his way out. Like that. That's another reason why I said AJ Styles. He literally just signed a 1-year contract extension with the WWE, and he's going to retire afterwards. Why not?
Yeah, it when you say it like that, it makes sense. It really does. But I also, like I said, I also feel too, is just it's more or less, is this whole planning. It might have a little bit of snippet of WWE written on it, but I think most of the planning is between Booker T, Reality of Wrestling, Fourth Rope, and Bully Ray and Busted Open Radio. I think it's them that are orchestrating it more than anything, and I think WWE has maybe like the smallest little say into how it's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? I just think they don't really have the biggest say-so as far as what they're doing with him. But like I said, I'm going to be watching, and, we definitely should do a review.
Yeah. I just thought about this while you guys were talking about somebody on the way out, somebody on Randy Orton's caliber. Sheamus.
Oh yeah, that definitely would have been something to look at. I would pay to watch that. Yeah. Sheamus versus Zilla? Yeah, I definitely pay to watch that, Yeah.
I would throw Rusev in the mix, but considering Rusev has just back on WWE programming now, it wouldn't make sense from a booking standpoint. As far as the fan appeal, it wouldn't. But to us, who grew up on all sorts of variety of wrestling, it would make sense based on our love affair for it. But for these newer fans, it wouldn't make sense to them.
Yeah, I get it. So
I think Rusev's intensity matches up with Ziggler's intensity.
It does, definitely. I think that'll be a great match, and we still got time for that type of match to happen. We know he's on his way. It's just when he's going to appear. That's the whole thing. When he's going to show up. All right,
They thought he was actually going to come out on Monday Night Raw when Roman was being attacked before and Jay was being attacked. They thought he was going to be the third man to come out, but he was in because at first he was actually like 3 or 4 rows back in ringside, and you really didn't see him on camera at all. But he had his phone up, but he took it down from off his social media platform. But he did have it on there on Instagram, and then he took it down like maybe a few hours later after Monday Night Raw ended. Maybe because it was due to the fact that they didn't want to spoil anything. I don't really know. But if that was the case, I mean, I can understand if WWE said no, you got to take it down. We don't want to spoil your surprise entry into WWE for the storyline because I think he's going to show. It's coincidental, guys. He's wrestling Friday. He said he's going to be at SummerSlam as well. SummerSlam is the second and third.
Yeah. So we'll just have to wait and see as far as everything else. Any closing remarks?
I'm just waiting to see. I'm waiting. I want to see how this is going to turn out. I do feel it should have been somebody else, but I'm not knocking how it was a work to get him, this attention. And I don't knock that. I just wish it had been somebody else who also came on Busted Open Radio and made the verbal spat on Twitter to ignite this. Yeah. That's my only thing. Like Dub said, it could have been anybody else. And heck, if it would have been personally, Drew would have been my pick. I know Randy was not going to do something like that. He's not at this stage in his career. He's not going to go on Busted Open Radio. He's not going to issue a challenge like that. That's just not where he's at now. He openly said, I'm more of a mellow type of wrestler now. I've mellowed down towards the twilight of my career. So I'm not going to do the things I once did in my 30s. Now I'm in my 40s.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. What about you, Dub? Any closing remarks?
I'll try to watch it, see how it goes, man. I'm not expecting too much because at the end of the day, it is Bully Ray. So I feel like with him with Zilla having to go one-on-one with an older wrestler, he's going to have to tone himself down some so the older wrestler could keep up with him. So if I had a choice, so who I would see, they could have set this up. They could have used Bully Ray's platform to set this up with another wrestler, whether if it was a Randy Orton, Drew McIntyre, AJ Styles, whoever. They could have used Busted Open to set it up. The same lines that Bully Ray used on his show could have been given to somebody else to use. You know what I mean? And then you have Zilla come in and you have him fight back. And then you have him go on the Twitter spat or X spat, whatever the hell you want to call it. And then you set up the match like that. They could have did that with anybody. We didn't get it. It is what it is at this point. Set in stone Friday. Guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is, at this point. So, we'll just see what happens and we'll just go from there. So, I feel like we should continue to cover this and, have our little review of it after it happens. All right, so it's your boys, Ring Ropes and Turnbuckle Podcast. We'll be back with another one. Bow! See you later.